Okay, first I'd start just, I have a very sincere uh, level of appreciation for our players, for our coaches, for our staff, for everybody in this building, that the sacrifices that everybody made in order for us to play football, practice, be in this building, and stay safe. So appreciative of everybody and their hard work around here. And it wasn't easy in terms of some of the sacrifices everybody had to make. I think looking back on this season, as we all do when the finality of this thing and it's over, I think, we definitely achieved a lot. We did some things we set out to do, but ultimately we came up short. And there's a very real sense of disappointment there among our players and coaches right now. But we can definitely look back and see some things that we accomplished and be proud of that. With that, I'll take any questions.
Thank you very much, Coach. The first one will come from Tom Withers.
Thanks, Rob. Thanks, Coach. Hey, first of all, thanks for all your time this year. It was an interesting one, to say the least. Appreciate it. Hey, I'm curious as far as Baker's concerned. Kevin, we saw a lot of growth in him as a player and as a person this year. What's the next step?
Yeah, I think the next step for Baker, I'd characterize it as the next step for all of us. Continue to get better. I think you saw growth from him as a player from the first game to the last. Really pleased with his progress, and I think he recognizes that he has room to grow, like we all do. So I think it's just having that mindset that he's going to constantly improve.
And is it warming, or I don't know how you feel when you hear guys immediately after the game, last night saying, "We'll be back"?
Yeah, I appreciate that from the guys. I think it's very hard not to be game planning today. It's very hard for those guys not to be, getting treatment and getting ready for the next one. It's you get into the rhythm of this season, and I think all of them really wanted to keep it going.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. Mary Kay Cabot will be next.
Yeah, can you just talk about what it felt like to get the reception that you guys got from all those fans when you landed last night?
Yeah, our fans are incredible, Mary Kay, and something that people told me about, and I got to experience it this season in a different way, and I can't wait to experience it with 67,000 strong in First Energy next season. But an incredible fan base here in the city, in Northeast Ohio, around the world. I've heard from a bunch of them, and we appreciate their support. I wish we were still playing football for them.
And does it make it that much harder, what happened yesterday? The fact that that you guys really could have won the game. I mean, I'm sure when you watched the film today, you probably saw all these different opportunities where you could have one thing could have just changed the whole game.
Yeah, Mary Kay, that's this game is the margin in this game is so razor thin, and especially in the playoffs, everything gets magnified. So to go on the road and beat the defending champs, you're going to have to make a bunch of plays. And ultimately, we just came up short. And that's where I'm looking at myself and saying, what could I have done better? So there's a very real disappointment in coming up short.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mary Kay. We'll go to Scott Pedrick.
Hey, Kevin, kind of following up on that, when you look back at those last 8 minutes, what stands out to you about the drive on offense that you were unable to mount and then giving up that last first down on defense?
Yeah, Scott, that's where I thought that game was going to be. I thought it was going to be tight, and we're going to have an opportunity late in the game, and we're going to have to go on a drive. And I just did not put the guys in position to succeed. And that's where I'm going to work really hard to make sure the next time we're in that situation, I do. So we came up short, didn't get it done, but it was not for lack of effort. That's where I really appreciate the guys we have, because you knew they were going to fight, and they did. But I got to do a better job for them.
I know you look back and kind of criticize that or critique everything, but is there one play call in that possession where you go, man, I wish I had done this differently or called this play?
All the ones that didn't work.
Yeah. All right, thanks.
Thank you, Scott. Nate Ulrich, you're up.
Hey, Kevin, what are you most proud of this season? And, just kind of to the thing Tom said earlier about, guys saying they're going to be back. Do you have any big picture thoughts you're allowing yourself to have about the future of this team and the prospect of sustained success that you guys want?
Yeah, I mean, I'm proud of our guys for battling all season long. I'm proud of the guys for putting up with the coaches and us moving the schedule on them constantly. I'm proud of how resilient they were in that regard, how resilient they were in different ball games. I'm proud of how they fought yesterday. I think we established our identity this season. I think on offense, defense, and special teams. So we accomplished definitely some of our goals. Ultimately, not all of our goals, but I definitely can look back and tell you that I'm proud of the effort of our players, our coaches, our staff.
Thanks, Nate. Daryl Ryder has our next question.
Yeah, Coach, just kind of piggybacking on Nate's question. You've resisted the temptation and line of questioning all season to reflect on all these historical milestones that you guys were able to achieve this year. And even though you didn't get to that ultimate goal, just what is your sense as you go into the off season now about what you were able to accomplish in your first year? And then also just, from a big picture standpoint, to get this franchise back to the playoffs, to win a playoff game and really elevate expectation going forward?
I think expectations for us will always be to win that last game. And that's where the disappointment comes when you come up short and you don't get into that second to last weekend of that season. So our expectations every week, Daryl, are going to be to go 1-0 and really put the focus on those ball games and put the focus on the work that goes into those ball games. But big picture thinking, I guess our big picture thought is that we're going to keep this thing nice and narrow view. And just in talking to our players today, I think they appreciate that. When you taste the success like we did this season, I think the guys understand that the work that they did was allowed them to taste that success. So I already, in hearing from them about they want to get back, and I appreciate that. In the same breath, they're talking about how they want to get back to work.
Just because not sure when we're going to speak with you again, could you just maybe give us an idea what these next couple of weeks will entail for you as well as your coaching staff?
Yeah, we'll work this week. There's a bunch of things that you got to do to button up this season. And then the coaches will be off next week, and I hope they all go for the fresh. I do think all of the players and all of the coaches, I do want them to reconnect with their families. It's a challenging year for all of us, and people that have family in other parts of the country and they're traveling and need to go reconnect. And obviously, I want everybody to stay safe while doing so.
Thanks for your time this year, Coach. Appreciate you.
Thank you, Daryl. Jeff Shadell, we'll go to you.
Two questions, please, Kevin. Do any of your guys need surgery? And could you reflect on your coaching staff? Do you expect all those guys to be back, and just how well you blended together?
Yeah, on the surgeries, we just did the exit physicals today, so I'll let AB update you guys later in the week on that part. And then I do expect the coaching staff back next season. Again, really proud of this group. They worked very, very hard in some tough circumstances. People stepped up when some of us were out. And really, I love the way our group worked together, and we're very much trying to solve problems this season as they came about.
Thanks, Jeff. Jake Trotter, to you.
Hey, Kevin. What specific area do you think Baker improved the most this season from the player you were watching on film this time last year?
I think there's a bunch of areas, Jake, where he did a very good job taking care of the ball, just learning this system and some of the intricacies of this system. And I knew that it was going to, get better over time with with losing the offseason, and I think you saw that from Baker. I think once he started getting comfortable in what we were doing, once I got comfortable, or rather once I was using more concepts that he was comfortable with, which is a big part of this, I think he really started to play at a high level. So, proud of the progress he made. But if I had to if I had to say one thing, Jake, I'd say just taking care of that football.
So you guys had obviously an unprecedented offseason. This was another offense that he had to learn, and he had to do it. Fortunately, you guys have a foundation now that you didn't have this time last year. So where can you and where can he go from here with this in the background?
Yeah, Baker and I spent some time together today, and I can tell you he's very excited not to learn a new offense. So that's a huge part of this. Is we can start at that baseline, we can start at that foundation and build on what we have done to date.
Thank you, Jake. Marla Ridenour has our next question.
Yeah, Coach, thanks for everything this year. Mac Wilson has taken a lot of criticism about his hit on Mahomes. I'm just wondering, when you looked at that again, is there anything you would tell him about that?
No, I don't think, I know how it was perceived, but Mac's not a dirty player. We don't coach our guys to hurt anybody ever. So we're all hoping and praying that Patrick's feeling okay, and we want him to be ready to go this week. So I hope there's no hard feelings. I know Mac's intent was definitely not to hurt him at all.
And I know you talked about the Sorensen thing yesterday. Is there anything you'll seek to clarify on that from the league?
I don't think so, Marla.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Marla. Tony Grossi is next.
Okay, sorry. Kevin, it figures to be a busy business year for Andrew Berry. When do you meet with him to discuss business of players, future players? I'm sure you'll be involved in that.
Yeah, we kind of meet every day on the business of players, it seems, Tony. So we'll sit down once we get all of our reports back on the Browns personnel that the coaches will do this week. We'll kind of look at the roster and see what we have and see where we want to go in the offseason. But I think Andrew's well on his way to on that plan, and he's worked tirelessly all season long with his staff to make sure they're ready to go in this offseason. So looking forward to those conversations, which will continue to happen over the next few weeks.
And could you give us an idea of what you see as the position? I know you're going to say every position needs to be better, but just in general, the positions that you and AB need to upgrade in this transaction season coming up.
Every position needs to be better.
Thank you, Tony. We'll go back to Mary Kay Cabot.
Yeah, Coach, can you talk about just how high the bar is in the AFC? I mean, like, you guys are going to have to deal with Patrick every year. I mean, he's younger than Baker. And now you've got guys like Josh Allen really coming on strong, Joe Burrow, you name it. I mean, the quarterback future in the AFC is very strong and bright. So how do you feel you guys are, stacking up in that regard, not just at the quarterback position, but to be able to deal with the Patricks and those guys if you ultimately want to get to where you need to go?
Yeah, Mary Kay, I'd tell you that to get to that final game when you got to play the AFC, there's tough outs everywhere you look. I mean, that's the nature of this beast. There's a bunch of great players in the AFC. I mean, you mentioned those quarterbacks, and we recognize that. To be the best, you got to beat the best, and that's all. True of any sport, true of any conference, division, you name it. So we'll have to, spend a lot of time this offseason and finding ways to make sure that we're getting better. We have to get better as a football team. I have to get better as a coach, and that'll be our focus moving forward.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mary Kay. Scott Patrick is next.
Hey, Kevin, when you talked about building a culture and kind of building a foundation in this first season, like, what areas do you think that were key that you were able to establish in the first year on the job?
Yeah, Scott, I think, when you're talking about culture, and I've said this before, I think you're just talking about people. And I think we have the right people in this building. I give Andrew Berry a ton of credit for the people he was able to bring in. I think there were a ton of great people here already. So we established a culture of work, and then the players bought into that, and they did that. And that's what I told them today, that I'm very grateful for the work that they put in and week out. And we had a bunch of guys who go up and down the roster that just did their job, knew what their role was, worked hard. Sometimes they, we had guys that weren't active, and then they're active the next week and they're starting the following week. So I'm just appreciative of all those guys and the leadership they displayed.
And maybe one of those guys, David Njoku, I know there's talk about him not wanting to be here at some point this season. And then it looked like he developed throughout the year and had a big game for you yesterday. What has he shown you? And do you see him as, a part of this going forward?
Yeah, I thought David played well, especially late in this season as he got healthy. He dealt with a couple injuries there, but he provided us great value on the line of scrimmage in the pass game. He did a really nice job for us.
Thanks.
Thank you, Scott. Nate Ulrich has our next question.
Hey, Kevin, during the season, you were asked in a radio interview if Baker was your franchise quarterback, and your stance was these things work themselves out. They play themselves out. So now that we're through this and 2 playoff games, how would you characterize how it played itself out?
Yeah, I think, I would tell you Baker continued to get better all season. He did the things we asked him to do. He definitely led this football team from day one till now, but I would still tell you that these things tend to figure themselves out. I think we got a bunch of ball games to look at with him and find out ways that he can get better. But in terms of the franchise quarterback thing, I don't even know necessarily what that means, but I'll let Andrew answer that one. Make sure you save that one for Andrew this week.
Okay. And hey, because it happened yesterday in the game, I know you also said save some of the surgery questions, but just in terms of Will's injury, is it anything serious?
Yeah, ultimately not serious. It'll be a couple weeks rehab, but not surgery related.
Thank you, Nate. Back to Jake Trotter.
Yeah, Kevin, I don't know if you're going to be doing, quote, an exit interview with Odell, considering he's rehabilitating. But next time you do talk to him, what do you tell him, considering he wasn't able to be part of this late season / playoff run that you guys had?
Yeah, I texted with him this morning. I know he's working really hard to get better in his rehab. I'm excited to get him back here. I know it was not easy for him being away from his teammates, especially as these games got bigger and into the playoffs. I know he definitely wanted to be a part of it.
We kind of forget about them because they've been out for so long. But 2 guys that you were really counting on coming into the season, Grant Delpit, Greedy. How are they coming along? Do you expect them to be ready to go for training camp? And then if so, what impact can those 2 guys have?
Yeah, of course, I expect them to both be back. I'm excited about both those guys. Unfortunate injuries. They're just going to continue to rehab and work through those injuries. But that is the exciting part for us, to get some of those guys back next season.
Thanks, Jake. We'll go to Aditi Kinkhabwala.
Hi. This feels like the year of everything different. So it looks like we're not going to have a combine. You talk about continually getting better. Can you even speak to what those weeks will look like? What the player evaluation, or are you still kind of focused on this team as it is right now?
Yeah, Didi, it's a good question. I don't know what that's going to look like. I would anticipate a lot of it is virtual, having some meetings with players like this, but I don't know when that is and necessarily how that will occur. But we've found a way last offseason to do a lot of this virtually, and we're going to have to do the same. But that's where we trust in Andrew and our personnel staff to gather all that information, watch the tape, and then go from there.
Okay, and then one more about the spring. Did you, by any chance, personally try to convince your center to take a different position when he speaks to the NFLPA about OTAs and mini camps?
Listen, JC, he speaks for JC. I'll speak for myself.
Thanks, Aditi. Andrew Gribble, you're up.
Yeah, Coach, I'm just wondering if you can evaluate what the contributions you got from your rookie class this year and how they handled just kind of a weird start to their NFL career.
Yeah, Andrew, those rookies won't forget their rookie season. I promise you that. One of them told me it was a blur this morning, and I can definitely see that. There was a lot that went on. Did a lot of this over the computer, which is never easy for those guys, but I thought they battled through it. A lot of them made contributions for us early in this season and then late in this season as well. So I'm excited about those guys. They're not rookies anymore, and I'm counting on them moving forward.
Thank you, Gribble. Steve Dorshik is next.
Kevin, what would you conclude about what you have in the Kareem Hunt, Nick Chubb tandem, and how do those two guys kind of factor into how you explored an asset that you just got to know this year and have going forward, and how much of a job it is in the offseason, kind of planning any tweaks in how you use those guys?
Yeah, Steve, excited about those guys. They both had incredible moments for us this season. Just think back through some of the runs and catches that they had that were highlight worthy. So excited about them moving forward. And then it's our job to grow in this offense and find more things they can do. And that's part of what this offseason will be about.
Thank you, Steve. We'll go to Derek Forrest.
Yeah, Coach, you talked about the process for the combine. Another big event that's coming, obviously, is the NFL draft. We assume that it's still going to take place here in Cleveland, but can you just talk about how big that is for the city and even for the franchise to have it here?
Yeah, I think it's great for our franchise. I think it's great for our city. I love when we get to put our city on display. So looking forward to that weekend. It's a huge weekend for a bunch of young kids that are getting drafted and finding out where they're going to be going. But I'm just excited that we're going to be able to host that show this season.
Thank you, Derek. We'll take one more question for Coach. Jake, are you all set?
Yeah. Kevin, when you took the job here, obviously the world changed pretty quickly thereafter. Are you looking forward to kind of, getting to know the city a little bit better? Hopefully things at some point will get back to normal before the season starts. But, what is this offseason going to be like for you compared to the last one, in addition to, your normal job stuff?
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely looking forward to getting to know the city better. We're all dealing with this pandemic in a bunch of different ways. And unfortunately, a lot of things are closed and we're not out and about and around each other as much as we'd all love to be. So I'll just make sure that I'm staying safe with my family and then continuing to work here and getting a lot of work done this offseason. I think I already told the coaches, when we're in here, we got to work. We have a bunch of work to do. We've got a bunch of things that we got to check off to make sure that we're doing everything we can to be ready for the players when they come back. But definitely not excited for the offseason at all, but excited to finally get a chance to take a step back and get around town a little bit. But before we go, I do want to say I appreciate all of you guys. I know this is not easy, how we've had to do all this, but your professionalism, the way you've done your jobs, I appreciate it. I know the coaching staff appreciates you. And I hope everybody stays safe.